Thanks for listening to the Dr. Drew Podcast on Podcast One.
Help protect what matters with ADT's Safer, Smarter New Year sales event. For a limited time, get an Adt Security Starter Kit, everything you need to get started with Adt Pulse, including a security panel, keypad, a motion sensor, and 2 entry sensors. Plus, there's an indoor camera and key fob, all professionally installed for only $49. It's a $599 savings that comes with the warm, confident feeling of safety at home. Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP, and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com, Florida EF 0001121, Louisiana F1639. Visit ADT.com/podcast. But hurry, this special offer now ends January 21st.
Hey guys, it's Layla, and if you want to hear some inspiring stories about health, wellness, and life itself, join me every Thursday for Layla Ali Lifestyle. I've had wonderful guests like Haley Pomeroy, superstar Russell Wilson, and the amazing Devon Franklin come on the show recently. And coming up in the next few weeks will be Sylvia Tara, PhD, who will be here talking about her book, The Secret Life of Fat. You can download new episodes of Layla Ali Lifestyle every Thursday on the new Podcast One app, podcastone.com, or subscribe at Apple Podcasts.
And welcome to Dr. Drew Podcast. Those are those swinging sounds. Don't forget to miss those. And check out all the stuff at drdrew.com. We appreciate it very much. My privilege to welcome Dr. Venus Nicolino to the show. You know her as Dr. V from Marriage Bootcamp and Reality Stars. New episodes are Friday at 9 on WeTV. You can check out her website at talktodrv.com. Twitter also is dr_v_tweet.
It's
Dr.
a lot.
Tweet.
It's a lot.
A lot
Thanks,
of stuff.
Dr. Drew.
And
Thank you.
My pleasure. So, you know a lot of the people I know.
Isn't that so weird? We live in the same reality house, but you live upstairs and I live in the basement.
Is that true? I thought we sort of lived in adjacent apartments. So
yeah, we mingle in the same circles.
We'll talk about some of those folks.
Yeah.
Talk to me about you first. You grew up where?
So I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on the main streets of Philly. Mm-hmm. I'm one of 5 kids.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Italian?
Italian. Mm-hmm. My dad is, still is, an auto mechanic. And my parents were married very young. My mom was a teen mom, actually. My older sister, she's 46, and my mom had her at 16, had me at 17, and then they just kept going.
Oh
so
were they immigrants? Were they was this sort of more
second generation?
Second
generation. They're still married for the most part, happily. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. We'll talk about that when I get home.
For the most part.
For the most part. So yeah. And for me, people always are like, so where did you get your training and things like that? And for me, it was really about sitting on the stoop, every night and listening to the turmoils and the troubles of everyone in the neighborhood, of the community. And
so you got interested in interpersonal experience.
Very interested in that. And I think what I found most fascinating is that, these community members felt as though their problems were unsolvable. And that always struck me. I mean, even as a very young kid, 5 and 6 years old, listening to these stories, I'd be like, well, that seems pretty solvable. So I was always kind of listening and taking in information and thinking, all right, there's a way to solve this.
And did you focus your training initially in that direction? You have 2 master's degrees.
Yeah, right? I have 2 master's degrees and a PhD, which makes me really well versed in bullshit.
So wait, the masters are in what?
I have a master's in counseling psychology. Yeah. From NYU.
That's one.
And a master's in clinical psychology and a PhD in clinical psychology. So as you go on to your PhD, you earn another master's.
Yes.
So.
And you didn't get the licensing.
I did not.
In this state.
I did not. And I'll tell you, I got into television pretty early. And let me tell you.
Licensing will actually restrict what you can do on television.
Yes. And
Dr. Phil let his license go because of that very issue.
And you know what? Unlike you have an MD, so you have more freedom than PhDs.
That's true.
You have so much more freedom.
That's true, especially lately, too, when PhDs have started clamping down on their sort of latitude. And yet, at the same time, they're jumping on the train to sort of take on Mr. Trump and talk about his pathologies.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they loosened it because of him. But anyway, but the point is, you are very much restricted by your peers and your licensing board.
Yes, and so to do things like shows on Bravo and Marriage Bootcamp, oh my God, it's just a risk that I don't want to take.
And I got to know you through HLN, and I think that was before this stuff, wasn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, we were on that.
You
want to say
ago.
8 years? I'm telling you.
Well, here's
10
why I'm doing.
years.
Here's
babe,
why I'm doing
10.
8 because I did HLN for 6 years, and it ended a year and a half ago. So unless we did something before HLN, which is possible, like Life Changers or something like that.
I remember that show, and
The HLN show.
I remember that exact episode. And it was so fun.
Yeah.
And we walked out, and you said, you should. It was like one of the first appearances I've ever had on television.
Oh, no kidding.
And you were like, you should really do television.
Yeah.
And so, here I am, 8 years later.
Good for you.
We'll go with 8. We'll go with 8.
I remember when they said you wanted to come back. I'm like, great. I haven't seen you in a long time. But I remember being happy to talk to her. She knows what she's talking about. She understands the medium.
Fun.
We're doing.
Fun.
You're good at what you do.
Make it fun.
Have there been any circumstances in these shows that have, we haven't seen on TV that were, let's call them frustrating? Because I've certainly had my share in those reality shows that you can talk about.
I mean, you seem to be more patient than me. So wait, hold on.
I deal with drug addicts. That's sort of part of the deal. It's not patience, because I looked at some of the stuff I did too. You get to see your own stuff, which is always weird, and I don't watch much of it. But occasionally, I saw myself.
Doesn't that kill you when you watch yourself? I can't.
Yeah. But I saw myself with Carrie Ann, Paniche. If you remember her, she was a very frustrating young lady, and I thought, oh my God, I'm being so kind to her. And I thought, oh, that's when she was off the meth. Yeah. She was a different person then, and seeing people change and evolve and grow and so fast, and then sometimes get remarkably well. Always gives me hope for whomever I'm dealing with.
No, for sure, for sure. I think some of the most frustrating things, the Marriage Bootcamp now has a spinoff, Family Bootcamp. And what I find so intriguing about the difference is that, you can't pretend to be someone you're not with your mother standing next to you, with your father standing next to you, with your brother there. So it brings a whole incredibly genuine experience and a fiery energy.
Do you worry that some of the stuff that is sort of in the sort of treatment zone doesn't show up on TV? Or just
that's a really good question. I would say I'm okay with it.
Do the producers ever frustrate you? Because I got
yeah. Actually, it's so funny. We do run in the same circles. We know some of the same producers.
Because I got to the point where, because I was dealing with really, really medically ill people, and the last few times I was doing it, I was like, you can't make eye contact with me. You can't talk to me, and you can't talk to the patients, period. And you can ask me, doctor, how's the patient doing? Doctor, what's this going to cost? Doctor, what's the aftercare plan? Doctor, what's the family plan?
Yeah.
And that is it.
Yeah.
One more question, I'm walking off the set.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's reality TV, as you know, is it's this whole beast in of itself. And, you and I mean, we're lucky to be a part of shows where people actually walk away with something. And that's always really nice. I mean, I'm sure people stop you in the street and say, God, I really learned this, this, and this. And it makes all that bullshit, by the way, what are the rules here? Are we allowed to curse?
Yeah, whatever you want.
It makes all that bullshit worth it, because I think that how we think about mental health care, particularly in this country, it feels at times, it's really only for the privileged. And so sometimes to actually get to people or people get the help that they need, they tune into TV. They tune into your podcast.
Well, and it kind of concerns me sometimes, too.
It does, for sure.
They confuse television with mental health care.
That's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but they do learn, too.
When someone says, I learn how to communicate better, I'm able to argue effectively with my partner, and I've learned some of these tools that we show on Marriage Bootcamp. It makes all that shit worth it. So, I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, there's no other reason to do it.
I agree. So in your, people are always curious, people who give relationship advice. What's your own history like?
I have been with my husband for 20 years.
Nice.
I don't remember how long we've been
Do you have
married.
kids?
I have two biological children and an adopted little girl.
Oh my gosh.
She is 20 months
Whoa.
20 months old.
Why'd you do that?
That's a really, it's a good question. She's actually my sister's daughter. So it's a
Got it.
familial relationship.
Got it.
So yes. So, and I'm freeing vaginas everywhere. I hate kids. So I just want to put that out there. I hate kids. I'm a good mom because I'm a decent person. So
Hold on a second. I want to drill into this a little bit. You hate kids, but you've taken on not only, how old are your adult kids? Your
9 and 11 and a 20-month-old.
And you just don't like babies? You don't like kids? Or you don't like being a mom?
I just sort of feel kids love me. And I don't like that. Like, I've just come to terms with myself and my own limitations.
And I'm all ears. and so is that freeing other women not to be mothers? Is that what you say?
I'm freeing vaginas everywhere.
From being a mom?
Because the thing is, like, you feel like because you're a woman, like, you have to say that you love kids or that you like kids.
No, you
Let me
don't.
tell you, I think women feel pressured by that. I
That's
know
crazy.
I did. And now I'm like, dude, get your kid away from me.
There's a
Just get your kid and your dog away from me.
Are you on hormone replacement? Because I've noticed when my wife got on testosterone, that's when she started talking that way too. So just FYI.
But you had more sex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
It was angry, but you had more sex.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. But there's a difference too between wanting or feeling a desire to be a mother and liking kids. Those are two distinct things, right?
Yes.
But I think you're right on the liking kid size. Women
Yeah.
feel like they're supposed to like them, and that makes
Right.
sense.
Like, I'm supposed to like your kid. I'm supposed to. It's just, I love my children and I really love all kids. But I say that because I'm a good person.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I love being a mother.
I get it.
I think they're different.
Do you feel that you've fallen short in any way? Anything?
Oh, I suck. I'm like the worst mother ever.
Sucking and doing a bad job are two different things,
But
right?
the thing is like, I think the fact that I think I suck is great because that makes me honest with myself and that keeps me real. Because let me tell you, being a mother or a father is one of the hardest jobs. It's like the presidency. Nobody good wants that job.
Let me ask.
Nobody.
Let me ask a question differently. How are your kids? Are they okay? Are they good? Everything okay?
You're doing an assessment.
Just
You're
check
doing an
it.
evaluation.
Just check it.
My kids are great.
Okay.
My kids are great. And I say that all with the greatest snarkiness.
And what does your husband do for a living?
He's in finance.
Okay.
He's in finance.
Great. And
Yeah.
is he out, you guys are out here?
Yeah, we're out here. We've been out here for 17 years.
And you're from Philadelphia. Did you meet?
We met in New York.
When you were at NYU?
In New
or-
York City, when I was at NYU, I was 24 years old. I'm 45 now. And it's funny because it wasn't, I always say, I don't believe in love at first sight.
Well, it probably was for him.
And
Women don't have it. Yeah.
He walked in and I looked at him and he looked at me. And according to him, he was like, oh my God, I want to marry her. And I was like, I just want to fuck his brains out.
That's a good combo.
So, that just made a good combo. Yeah. And it was our, 3 days later, this is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
3 days later, went on a date. And we fucked on our first date and we've been fucking ever since.
Good.
A little vulgar. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
who are you talking to? No, it's all good. And you've also done some Real Housewife stuff too. Is that true?
Yeah, I had a show of my own on Bravo called LA Shrinks, which was a super fun show to do.
Who else was on? Did I know somebody else?
I think you may know it was Eris Humor.
Oh yes, yes.
And well,
Erin, we've had her on
and
this podcast.
another somebody else.
Yeah, no, she was one I mostly knew, but
yeah.
You just started doing that right after I first met you. I think.
A couple of years later, for sure.
I have a feeling that might
Really?
have. I think that might have been already underway. I think you're thinking of me in some other show or something.
I could never mistake you.
All right,
I know.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So it was a couple years later.
All right.
We started doing the LA Shrinks. I loved it. And, I have a great relationship over at Bravo. And so I was their resident shrink for about, 3 or 4 years. And I was on the Millionaire Matchmaker and the New Jersey Housewives. And from there, it was great. I mean, Bravo rallies behind their professional talent in a way that I don't think any other network does. I mean, it's pretty great.
Oh, that's cool. Well, let's talk about Marriage Bootcamp. So let's talk about some of the folks that we have shared in common.
Yes.
Start with Farrah.
Wow. Well, why don't you start with Farrah?
Wasn't she on your thing?
She was. She was on the Family Bootcamp.
Recently,
she was on the Family Bootcamp.
With Michael, with her dad.
With her dad. And
it's easier talking about Michael.
Yeah.
Michael called my podcast right after they got out of there.
Wow.
Which wasn't that long ago, right? It was like 3 months ago.
Yeah, it wasn't long. Yeah.
And he said, I was sexually abused as a child. I'm like, well, that starts to explain an awful lot. And I guess he unearthed some of that with you guys?
I guess he did.
And he was beginning to see how those patterns and that trauma was affecting Farrah, and that he was sort of forgiving Farrah for some of her behaviors. He didn't have a good sense of where Mom fit into all this. Was she there too?
She was there.
Oy vey.
Yeah. So it was all three of them.
And what'd you think?
It's a hothouse for sure. It's a hothouse.
Every time I see poor Deborah on TV, she's talking about killing herself. Every time. And she had a little bit of a schizoid kind of quality about her. And I told Farrah she was, claiming their mom had spectrum or something, she had all these claims about what Mom had. I said, well, you might read about schizoaffective. Maybe that has something to do with this too. And then Deborah got all incensed that I labeled her schizoaffective, and her boyfriend attacked me, who was an infectious disease doctor. And I was like, I just was trying to educate Farrah. If she's trying to understand her mom, I'm going to just read about these things.
And sometimes, having a name helps you understand.
That's the way I think of it. And people somehow feel that labels are pejorative. And to me, they're just another part of the human experience.
Yeah.
This is just, I've got my own, I've got anxiety disorder, I have panic disorder, I have some narcissistic injuries and stuff. And I don't feel diminished by that. I just, it's just me.
I mean, and you also maybe even feel empowered by those. I mean, I think some of those. I do, and maybe
it's
some
like
of superhuman powers, really.
I just think that some people feel very hurt when you put diagnostic labels on them. And by the way, I wasn't even in her case. I wasn't specifically diagnosing so much as saying, just think about those characteristics, those traits,
right? And
maybe you can understand your mom that way. Did you see any of that? Do you think it was anything like that, or what did you think
that's
that was?
That's a really great question.
Without labeling her,
I saw her.
I saw her pain. That's
me
for sure.
too. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I saw really all of their pain.
Yeah.
And you really see that magnified and volumized with all three of them standing in front of you.
Oh boy.
And I had tremendous amount of empathy for all of them. So
and to be fair, do you get that's your job? That's the job.
Yeah.
And do you get criticized by the social media world for not, clobbering people, which is only either A, abusive, or B, going to send up their defense strategies? Right.
That I mean, Doc, you know this. I mean, people want to see.
I feel weird you call me Doc. Drew's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, hello, Drew.
Yes.
So. I mean, you've probably had that happen as well. Like people wanted you to hammer someone
constantly,
and didn't.
And two things occurred to me. One was, first of all, I'm not going to abuse these people. I feel sympathetic to them. I'm not going to abuse them further. They're well abused. Trust me.
Right.
Number one. And number two, being aggressively confrontative only throws up their defensive smokescreen. It does not get through to them.
For sure.
This is what worries me about television and psychology.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks of Dr. Phil as though he's doing treatment. He's doing a good talk show.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's teaching a little bit and stuff. But that's not treatment. That's not. Those people walk out of there and they're going to be. That's why they send them to treatment.
Yeah.
Because what happens out there on the stage is not going to make them better.
Yeah.
Drew, I recently saw a tweet after watching you on the Teen Mom reunion.
Yeah.
And I saw someone giving you crap and saying you were in trouble because you suggested that one of the chicks needed some containment. You were talking about how her husband sort of corrals her and people are calling him controlling.
Yeah.
And I see people giving you shit for this. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, that could not have been. I watched it.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say I sat there and watched the whole thing.
Thank you. But part one. Part two's coming later.
I know, and I have to watch that too.
Well, trust me, part two gets a lot more intense.
I can't wait. I will be. Listen, I love watching you because it's you. But it's ridiculous. It's like no matter what you do, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
I've come to accept that. Our mutual publicist coached me one day when I was in some other shitstorm, and she goes, "You know what? We're in a Trump world where if people are not giving you crap, you don't exist." It's like that's just the world we live in now, where everything's a crap storm. And so, all right, so I'm in shitstorms all the time.
I think we're going to see an age of legitimacy for sure. I think we're going to push
what will that
back
look
to
like?
that. I don't know, but I hope it looks different. I hope it looks different.
Your mouth to God's ears.
But it's true. It's you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Now you and I have a incredibly different style. So my style is definitely not in your face or aggressive, but it's definitely a little more.
And by the way, you can do some of that too without the licensing thing. I have to constantly be thinking, do no harm, do no harm.
I know.
How can I? The television wants this, but we can't hurt these people. And blah, blah, blah. So
I mean, I have the freedom of perhaps being a little bit more instinctual.
Yes, that's right.
And by the way, I feel that I use my own humanness as a tool.
Sure.
Like I experience you as an asshole.
Yeah.
Do other people experience you this way?
Yeah.
So. But you're right. I mean, I have a lot more freedom to do that.
But I would argue that kind of thing is just good. That's just good community, good skill of getting through to people. When you're looking to buy a car, you want to make sure you're getting real pricing on actual inventory. A lot of times that is not the case. People configure cars online only later to find out they are not available. Not with TrueCar. Of course, I'm talking about TrueCar. You get real pricing on actual inventory. This is not pricing offered by TrueCar, but pricing from an actual dealer. And not just any dealer, but a TrueCar certified dealer. This is a carefully curated network of dealers committed to transparency and offering you a competitive market price. Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Using TrueCar, you can easily find the car you want. Next, TrueCar, TrueCar.com or TrueCar app will show you what other people in your area paid for the same car you're looking for. Now you know what a fair price is, so you can feel confident. Over 3 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. Over 3,000 TrueCar Certified dealers are available nationwide. You will get to work directly with a TrueCar Certified dealer that you make contact with, and TrueCar users are more likely to enjoy a faster, better buying experience when they contact a TrueCar Certified dealer. And on average, you can expect to save over $3,000 off MSRP. Once you register, you'll see a real price on actual inventory. Hook up with that TrueCar certified dealer. Have a better buying experience. TrueCar, go to the TrueCar.com or TrueCar app. Do what I'm telling you. I want to tell you guys about the new electric toothbrush called Quip. It packs just the right amount of vibrations into this ultra slim design. Guided pulses to simplify better brushing. It's a fraction of the cost of the bulkier brushes. And be honest, you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes twice a day, but do you actually do that? Whether your answer is yes or no, you need Quip. It's an electric toothbrush that looks like it was designed by Apple. It cleans like a premium electric brush, but without the high price. Comes with a mount that goes right on your mirror, fits seamlessly into your daily routine, offers an optional subscription plan, including new brush heads on a dentist-recommended 3-month schedule for just $5. That's including shipping worldwide. And just in time for the holidays, Quip is the ideal size and price to gift for anyone on your list. It's featured in just about every gift guide this year. It's backed by a network of over 10,000 dental professionals, including dentists, hygienists, and dental students. Quip starts just at $25. And right now, when you go to GetQuip, Q-U-I-P, getquip.com/Drew, get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush. Again, $25 right now at getquip.com. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Drew. Again, it's spelled GETQUIP.com/Drew.
I mean, Irvin Yalom, he's one of my favorites, I love. And he would often say, using yourself is the greatest tool that you have if you can do it effectively.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people who don't do it effectively.
No, I always tell people that when we used to run teams and stuff, it's like each team member offered the patient something different, and the patient related to each of us differently and liked us or disliked us differently. And that was telling the patient something and us something about who they are and their experiences. And when you are listening to a patient, you have to listen with your whole body. Yeah. Your body's the instrument, and then how you respond has to be instinctive and from your body as well.
It's
totally
cellular. It's like you're
really
you get into a zone where you're vibrating with that person in a way that's indescribable. Actually,
do you have that thing I have where you smell things and hear things and feel things in your body? You just know aren't yours.
Yes.
Yeah, I have that all the time.
It sucks. It sucks.
It doesn't suck for me because I could see where it would suck.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable sometimes because sometimes the stuff I'm seeing, and sometimes I have to stop and tell the patient it's so uncomfortable that I wonder if it's meaningful, and that usually it's risky to do that because sometimes they react powerfully. But it's just so informative to me. Like I feel when I feel pains and things like that. It's like, boy, I know that's there.
It's this third eye. It's this intuition. You're picking up. You're feeling with all of your senses.
Yeah, it's co-creating. So you are a good mom. How could you not be a good mom with all that going on? That's all the mom is.
I'm snarky.
Your kids are okay, right? Your kids are
good. My kids are great.
Okay,
my kids are great.
Right.
And I felt this. What we're talking about now with two other people we have in common with Javi and Kale from Teen Mom.
Yes.
What we're describing,
it is shared experience kind of stuff.
It's an indescribable experience.
I don't get too much of that when I'm with that group because I get a little bit of it, but I'm out in front of an audience and we just film for like 14 hours and it's insanity and it's one evocative thing after another. But what'd you feel with them?
It's an indescribable feeling to be in the room with two people who are dying of a broken heart. I think, and that weighed heavily on me as a human being through the 14 days that I was with them. I just felt that heaviness.
Did they get into it? Did they get into those feelings?
Oh, yeah. They really, really did.
But and Kale, who I have great affection for all those kids, all the people, by the way. And I've been with them alone, known them for a long time.
You can't help them if you don't have affection. You know what I mean? Like you have sort of a love.
Well, I'm not trying. I'm hosting a talk show, which is a little different than what you're doing there.
Right.
Which is different than what I did on Celebrity Rehab. But I am using some of the same stuff to conduct those interviews. Right. And Kale has a pretty borderline kind of history, right? And so there's a lot of chaos and stuff in her life. And I've always felt bad for the chaos that she creates. I don't think she intends to at all.
Yeah.
And she's had some. I always thought Javi was going to be a nice stabilizing force for her. No.
I think it's difficult when couples.
And I think he's really hurt. You're right. He's really hurt by all this stuff.
I mean, it was, but both of them were dealing with broken hearts. They were dealing with a hoped-for future that is never going to happen. And that is a very specific kind of grief. And it just really, really tuned me in a very new way to how couples suffer when they're needing to learn to be apart, and particularly when they share a child. So I remember that just weighing heavily on me.
Well, I hear these days that's a lot of what couples therapy is. By the time somebody gets to therapy, it's already like, well, we're going to kind of
Are you
help them through that.
Do you want to stay together or you want to learn how to be apart? So let's sort of decide that.
And that's question number one, right?
Right.
And what do you think, as you come upon people today, what is sort of the common, if you had one sort of overriding theme that you're encountering all the time, is there one?
I see this over and over and over again. That people, it just feels like it to me. And I've been in the field for 20 years. Yeah. It feels like there is a lack of empathy.
Oh man, you got that right.
And I
usually on both sides, or usually more on one than another. Or?
On both sides, there's a real.
Is some of that? Let me ask you this: is some of that empathy deficiency rooted in our lack of education and awareness of how differently a male and a female experience relationships and intimacy sometimes? Sometimes.
Well, I mean, I see it in gay relationships, intimate partner violence is rampant in the gay community. So I see it everywhere, really. And
so we're talking about abusing your partner.
Yes.
It may be violent or not, but abuse is rampant.
Lack of empathy is an abuse of sorts.
It's easy to abuse if you don't empathize.
So I think that there's this really me culture, and you see it everywhere. You see it not just, for example, in my own bullshit field of psychology. You know, you'll hear pop phrases like, "You can't love anyone until you love yourself."
Oh, yeah. That to me seems like
are you
bullshit.
out of your mind?
I hate that one.
Come on, like first of all, it describes a sequence of events. Yeah. Like first I love me, and then I love you, and we're branding this shit.
Yeah.
We are branding this shit. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. But nobody tells you how. And it's scientifically and biologically impossible to love yourself the same way you would love someone else. So how do you love yourself? You love other people. That's how you do it. So there's this real. It feels to me like this cultural shift into the I, into the me.
Yeah.
And it's making relationships harder. It's making, like, if you can't see someone else's point of view, if I have no compassion for you, I have no empathy for you, we don't have a relationship.
Right.
We make each other feel things.
I think, though, that for the most part, the current season has Kaylin and Javi on it. Your current season of Marriage Bootcamp.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw
I don't
Kaylin.
know how I knew that.
Gary's like, you're funny. Did you know Dr. V before I brought her in here? Did you understand who I was bringing in? You knew her stuff.
I've been watching this show for
okay,
like 5
I want to make sure
seasons, I told you.
You didn't. I didn't know you.
I had never met her before, but I was very aware of who she is. I've been dragged along as a.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I actually listen. I like it more than I would like to admit.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's a good show.
Nice.
Thanks, Gare.
It seems to me, though, it's a little more pernicious than just complete empathic failure, though that certainly happens. You have Weinsteins out there and things like that, which is where that all goes. But it's more like a periodic failure where there's not a willingness to focus on the well-being of another.
There's not a consistency.
Yeah.
There's not a grit to it.
But a grit and a consistency and a priority in it, and also an awareness of the need to have your attentional mechanisms directed at the other person.
Right.
And that has a volitional, sort of a willful quality to it that you have to be willing to do. It's much lazier to just go think about me. Right? Isn't that lazy?
I love how you kind of like slummed.
Yeah,
I wish our viewers could have seen you slump.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like
blah.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, it's all about me.
You're right. It's a laziness, perhaps.
Yeah. Because I think most people have some capacity for this. They just have to pay attention, prioritize it, call it into consciousness, and be aware. It's just, it makes me sad. And again, there's no good models for intimacy and relationships out there because all the marriages are failing. The families, the parenting is suboptimal or not available or abusive.
Yeah.
And so people don't trust connection. They don't get into the frame of intimacy.
I mean, I also think,
challenging.
Movies and love songs, they perpetuate this fallacy of what a romance should be. And, you have the shows like The Bachelor, and it's this petri dish of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so your first date was in an Irish castle. and I always find those couples who come on Marriage Bootcamp to be the most difficult to break through because there's this huge facade.
Yeah, they're all full of shit from the beginning.
All trying to hold up, and it's like, it's okay. Like, we're all in this together. Like, we can be vulnerable. I mean, how are you supposed to know your partner if you're pretending? So, but they met each other
on
pretending,
in pretend mode.
So it's just fascinating to me.
It's to me, it's kind of scary. You're writing books on this at all?
I am.
Yeah.
I am writing a book with HarperCollins called Bad Advice. And what it does, it's a myth buster about all the pop psychology phrases.
Good. Like you said, love yourself.
You can't love anyone until you love yourself. Or expectations lead to disappointment. Come on. Like, it is it's an instinct to have expectations. Expectations keep you alive.
It's almost like goal setting. What's wrong with goal
it's
setting?
Amazing.
When did that become a problem?
well, apparently it leads to disappointment.
And by the way, so what? Get up and try harder.
Exactly. I mean, you are descendant of the Ice Age. You can handle disappointment. Trust me, you got this. So, it's all of these phrases, and then I prove through science of why it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And then it's a fun way into a self-help book. Okay, so if that doesn't work, what will work?
Yeah.
Right?
Is there stuff out there that drives you a little crazy in the sort of, maybe in the self-help and the books and things like that?
Everything drives me crazy.
Me too. But is there anything come to mind when I say that, though?
I mean,
anything particular?
You know, Drew, people in general, they're not walking the self-help aisle because they want to hear something negative about themselves.
So people are just selling books.
People don't want to hear things that are negative. And
and hard.
How do we get other people to hear things about themselves that they don't want to hear? Because those are the things they need to change if they want to get this, and this.
Right.
So I find the creative process of writing this book of, okay, so how can I tell the reader, like how can I shift the reader's worldview to be able to listen to something that maybe they don't want to hear, but it's funny and it's voicey and maybe it helps you think about something different. And then maybe along the way it helps you.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to NYU. I went to New York University undergrad.
What was your degree in undergrad?
Liberal arts, can you tell?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was figuring.
Yeah. Liberal arts.
Yeah.
Just a nice, broad education. And I loved NYU. I mean, I loved it.
Did you live down there?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I lived in New York City for
but
10
downtown
years.
there or wherever that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get a
Square.
nosebleed if I go past 23rd Street.
Okay,
I mean, I'm a
got it.
downtown kind of gal. So yeah.
I miss New York all the time.
Yeah. Do you go back a lot?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I was just there in October.
I was there last week.
And I sweated my balls off.
Yeah, it was 75 degrees.
Sick.
Yeah.
I came here in October.
Yeah.
I brought coats.
I know, me too.
Things
And
you
then
can't do here.
I sweated.
It screwed
Did you
me.
ride the trains?
Oh, I love the
Yeah, me too.
trains. I mean, you really get to feel. I mean, New York City has such a nice feel to it.
Yes,
it
it's a
feels
city.
It's like everybody's somehow in it together.
Yes.
And I love the concept of being able to be on my feet. That feels real good.
Yeah.
That feels like a sense of control that maybe I don't have here in
You don't
LA.
like getting in a car every day?
You know, I don't
driving
like
for an
getting in the
hour,
car every
dealing
day.
with the shitty roads here and the freeways that don't work. I'm driving me insane. But anyway, I like there's stuff there's stuff out there in the self-help world that I just all the.
Well, you tell me. You have something on your mind. I can see it.
I was going to say Helen Fisher's coming to mind for me because she has taken.
I love her.
She's taken such a. I know. Oh. Sorry. I like her too, but she's taken these extremely complex, very spurious, sort of referential fMRIs and developed this absolute roadmap of what the physiology is, which is 1,000,000 miles from reality. 1,000,000.
Wow. Well,
and that drives me out of my mind. That's particularly when somebody that has no training in neuroradiology and no training in neurophysiology and neuroanatomy and neuropsychology, and then draws this whole thing up because one neuroradiologist said, I think that's what I'm seeing here. It's like, no, this is extremely complex material.
You're
and
absolutely
that stuff
right.
drives me nuts when stuff is distilled down to the point that it becomes unreal.
Okay, so we're going to disagree here because I love Helen.
I do love Helen too as a person.
As a person, right.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an amazing woman.
Yes. But she's an anthropologist. She's an anthropologist. She is.
Look at you.
She
you
is.
degree snob.
No, I am. And by the way, but not only that, I have a little bit of envy for anthropologists. I think anthropology is a discipline that's been left behind inappropriately. It needs to come up right front with everybody again.
But if you're going to say that, let me just ask you this. How do you feel?
But anthropologists making commentary about neuroradiology is like, that's insanity.
But how do you feel about the DSM-5 then? You know, how do you feel that it has a 13% integrated reliability? Like, how do you get around that?
Well,
that's
have you ever pulled out the DSM-1 and looked at how far we've come? In other words,
do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no,
okay.
I understand, but there is training and there is ways of assessing these things and thinking about these things that really requires a lot of experience. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Well, everyone's trying to set their new resolutions, but you may not know exactly what you need to do or what's best for you to do Well, there's now a way to target your genetics and your genetic traits to deliver programs that are built just for you. So I keep doing a workout or a diet plan that you're just sort of guessing is right. Go to Fitness Genes. It's an ultimate personalized fitness program, and it's built for you and your genetic profile. It's a DNA analysis kit plus one of these goal-based, genetically optimized training system, either losing weight, building muscle, or getting fit. Order the DNA analysis kit, 20% off using the promo code DREW. You can add a training system later if you want. Check out what is appropriate for you. Leverage your genetics to make the most out of your diet and exercise choices. You could be sabotaging your success. It could be your genes. It could be your genetic profile. It could be your biology that makes it so difficult for you to respond to whatever program you've randomly chosen or you think is one that you're more likely to enjoy. But how about the one that's just right for you? Things like drinking the right kind of coffee and at the right time of day, exercising at the optimal time. Genetically, are you lactose intolerant? Are you unnecessarily cutting too many carbs and neglecting the healthy fat intake? Thank you, Vinny. These are just a few of the insights that you will gain at the Fitness Genes analysis. Get the results in just 4 weeks. Spit saliva in a collection capsule, mail it back. Designed by a team of geneticists and doctors. Order now and compare your results. Find out by searching Fitness Gene and Dr. Dan on Facebook. Follow them at Fitness Genes or at Dan Reardon, Reardon. Check them out. Look into it. Fitness Genes. It's an interesting program, and it may be exactly what you need to get success in either losing weight, building muscle, or getting fit. Again, it is Fitness Genes, Genes, Fitness Genes. And so what I was going to ask you was, based on some of her stuff, she seems to make a lot of claims about what love is. Mm-hmm. What do you say?
You know what's amazing about love is that it's an indescribable feeling that science can't really put its finger on.
I'm not sure.
Now, I know. Now, look, I know that it hits a lot of dopamine receptors. I know that it's like your brain marinating in cocaine.
It's not. You know? Let me assure you, it is not. That's what Helen Fisher says, and I assure you, it is not. She made absolutely spurious conclusions about a brain that was ready to run away. That's what that brain was doing.
Right.
And it was having reward activity.
Right. So you tell me.
Yeah.
What
is it?
Yeah, you tell me. Because you have ideas. I know when you're like excited.
No, I mean, there's a book out there called, what was it called? A General Theory of Love. It was pretty comprehensive for that time. It's probably about 12 years old now. And there, of course, it's neurobiologically based. And there are different qualities to it at different times during a relationship. Initially, there's a lot of lust and drive and reward and sort of primitive midbrain activity, and a lot of the stuff that she was talking about was, so a lot of the reward, the medial forebrain bundle, and that's what we get when we see a good meal too. Everybody, it's like there's lots of stuff that our brain says, do that again, and prepare for action. That's all she was seeing in the brain. What happens in an intimate contact is much deeper embedded in the autonomic nervous system, literally in our heart, which we're now learning has 80% afferents coming up to the brain in a region of the brain where there are now several nuclei, nucleus accumbens, the nucleus ambiguous, and the dorsal motor complex of the vagus nerve, and these nuclei that are deeply embedded in highly bodily-based experience that then inform other regions like the insular cortex and the anterior cingulate, which give us these feelings of nurturance and connectedness, and then our focusing mechanisms kick in that we can empathize and exchange with another person. But ultimately, it's a co-created phenomenon. Yeah. I think the business of looking at it in one brain is a grotesque mistake. It is co-created, much like the stuff you were talking about with your patients. Yes. Feeling these things together. Yes. That's not just your brain. That's co-created with another brain and another body.
Absolutely.
And so all that stuff about the dorsal basal ganglia, that is grotesque oversimplification of something that's highly complex.
You're right. It's a dyad. I mean, it's what's happening between the space, for sure.
And to get did you ever study Martin Buber and the I thou?
Yeah.
And all that? So even philosophers have noticed that there's something spiritual and interesting and phenomenal in this.
It's magical.
Two brains. Yes. It's how the humans have spread across the earth is our ability to socialize and connect and read and understand. And that's us. us. That's humans.
And I don't think as a society we put enough
emphasis. We put bullshit. We put none on it because there are people like the self-help people out there that are giving you the me, my brain, me. And that's a gigantic mistake. I mean, and by the way, the philosophers never made that mistake.
No, never.
Maybe Heidegger a little bit. But
you remind me of another phrase that I can't stand. Nobody can make you feel bad without your permission.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely can.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we help. Because to your point, we help each other feel things.
Co-created. And
all day
some
long.
of it is recreations of stuff and patterns and traumas from the past, for sure. And, and maybe we can some way interfere with that, but you only learn to interfere with that again in a healthy relationship, another relationship. Right. That's the only way that happens. So we're in agreement. So you're going to solve all that with your new book, right?
I'm going to solve that one. Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I'm going to tell you in that chapter, I lean heavily on Helen.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean, I'm going to take this is a really nice conversation for me to have. And sort of rethink that. I mean,
that was one case.
I do talk about
that was the case she talks about in that book.
Yeah,
it's one case of a borderline female in the early stages of breakup and chaos in a relationship. That's a very different thing than somebody who is dating successfully, who's not borderline, by the way, who can tolerate intimacies.
Right.
I mean, she doesn't factor any of that in.
Right.
I mean, listen to the way she describes that patient.
Yes.
You'll see what I'm talking about.
Ugh, now I got to go work this fucking chapter.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
But I
hate kids, I hate dogs, I hate Drew.
But just think how you're going to bring so much more to the table.
No,
and by the way, some of
the
stuff that Helen gets into sort of thinking about these things, she poses some good ideas and some good thoughts, but the basis of it is deeply flawed.
Wow.
And think more about the autonomic nervous system. That's the heart turns out this stuff above the diaphragm and our gut.
Yeah.
Very important neural material in connecting with other people. We don't even know how it works. We've got gigantic brains in our solar plexus and over our chest and in our pelvis. They're peripheral brains, and we have no idea how they work. We've got that sympathetic chain all along our spinal cord. We have no idea what that's processing or what it's doing.
Right.
And then it's all informed at the level of the brainstem, and then that sends stuff up again into these feeling and the amygdala and the insula and all these other areas that are sort of, I don't know, teaching us misery and joy and what's notable and what's scary.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we'll ever truly understand it?
I do.
Or do you think there's something about it that's just magical?
There's some ineffable quality to it for sure because it's holistic and analog and non-digital. Like just even if you've ever seen the parasympathetic plexus that lies over our stomach, it's a net, it's a web, it's an amoeba. Is that highly organized? You know what I mean? Is that a highly we're going to figure out the wiring of that?
No,
I'm not sure. But there are guys like Stephen Porges out there really working out the vagus nerve and how the vagus informs us from the heart and what's coming to sort of at least what's coming up that trunk to the brain. We're beginning to understand that quite a bit. Quite a bit. Stephen Porges is something what are the different? He's going to look up. I've done several interviews with him. You could check out.
This is great information.
And it turns out that the
I mean, do you have like a medical degree or something? What's your background?
It turns out the evolution and the development of the vagus nerve is embedded in what's called the branchial pouches, which is where our vocal cords and our facial expression and our ears, we can attune to voices. All that is vaguely informed. Yeah. And so literally there's an autonomic social plexus or social, what should we call it, responsive system that's autonomically based, not rational, not conscious, not anything.
Right.
Episodes 63 and 90. Those of you, can you get it for Dr. V? It's those of the rest of you who subscribe at podcast1.com/premium. You can get all the new episodes.
Yeah, Dr. V will have Dana send me an email. I'll send you some links. So you
thanks, Gar.
Right. This is see, it's all working out.
Wow. Woo.
Yeah, Porges, he'll talk to you too if you want to call him. I mean,
that is a great resource, and
he's just scratching the surface on this stuff that is going to be somehow somewhere down the line. And when people worry about things like consciousness and the philosophers and what's conscious, again, they keep thinking about what's consciousness in one brain. Consciousness is a co-created thing itself.
We don't think about the self in its relation to other people.
Embedded. The self is embedded. Brain is embedded in a body. The body is embedded in a social, interpersonal context, in a socio-historical context, and all that is deeply important.
Drew,
Dr. V. I'm going to get a little lecture here. Please, let's go.
I picked something up about you.
Yes, what's that?
Not many doctors, MDs, talk in this way. And
I'm very aware of it, believe me.
You have a little liberal arts major in you, too.
You might be shocked to find out I went to Amherst College, and I study philosophy deeply, and I study history deeply, and I'm very interested in the human experience. But and everything I look at scientifically, I look at from the context of its historical evolution, because it helps you understand the science a little bit, how they arrived at these things, what they were thinking about at the time, who thought of these things.
Yeah.
And absolutely. That's why I think anthropology, for instance, is something that can help me.
And I'm sure you're able to conceptualize your patients in a much more complex way.
Yeah, it's a richer landscape, sort of.
For sure.
But if I'm working in an ICU and working on just physiological parameters, that's just that. Though I still would argue that things like a gut instinct are things that I trust maybe a little more, because I kind of understand what that is and where it comes from.
Like a thin slicing type thing?
Just gut instinct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more apt to trust that.
As I've gotten older, I've learned how to do it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I think when I was younger, I'm a really hopeful person. As snarky as I am, as cynical as I come off, I'm like a really hopeful person.
Yeah, I get that.
And I feel like so much of my life was, I don't want to believe what I know to be true
about people,
because then that would suck. And now that I'm older, I'm just like, okay, you suck.
I get what you mean. And to be fair, back to that idea of trusting those instincts and being able to call stuff out, that comes from experience. Yeah, there's no shortcut for that.
Yeah, I mean, it really does, and I sort of feel this. I want to say maybe empowerment from that I'm able to trust myself and be like, I know this to be true. Yes. And I knew it to be, I might have known it to be true 10 years ago, but I wanted to lean into the pain. You want to lean into the experience. And now it's like, you know what? Fuck, man. I don't want to lean into your pain. I just want to be happy. Yeah. I don't know if you find that as you get older.
I think for me, what that means is being less codependent, which I am too.
Good. Good.
Not codependent, just less codependent.
But are we really ever never?
Well, that's the point. And by the point, I wouldn't want to be never, because it has great utility in terms of getting that empathic connection for people. I'm a little overly focused on other people and a little overly interested in stopping their pain, but that's all right. I can make it, as long as I can keep straight what's mine and what's theirs, then it'll be okay.
And as you said, because feelings are co-created, it can be difficult to tease out what is
yours. Well, especially when you're codependent.
What do you own?
It activates all your own stuff all the time. And I was dealing with Elizabeth Smart. She was abducted at a 14-year-old stuff. Yeah. And I had to stop her. I said, all my stuff is coming to bear. I'm just aware of this all going, and I want to rescue you, and I want you to stop telling me a story, and I got to take a minute here and stop my own bullshit from interfering with this interview. Right. And I haven't felt that in a long time. Wow. I had lots of therapy to get that out of the way, but all that stuff is always still kind of there. You just deal with it.
And it's never wrong. You know what I mean? I think people beat themselves up a lot for feeling the way that they feel. Okay, so now
let me add. No, I do. let me advocate on behalf of people that feel that way, which is you work hard to get some of these personality things out of the way, and then you realize they're just still there.
They're just still there. I've just tuned them out.
I'm just better at kind of
lying to myself. And
using them effectively rather than getting rid of them. You know what I mean?
But they've also helped you.
Yes, of course. Of course. I know, but they also hurt. But that's
okay. For sure.
All right. My stuff's getting mobilized, so I'm going to have to say goodbye.
What a fun conversation. Thank you for having me on.
It's a privilege, and it's good to see you after all these years.
I learned so much, so thank you.
I remember that first meeting, and I remember thinking, this is good television, and I had no doubt you would do well, and here you are.
Thank you so much, Drew.
And I applaud you for doing it and continuing to do it. And is there anybody we left out that we know that we should be addressing, that people go, why didn't you guys talk about fill in the blank?
Ooh,
mostly Teen Mom, I guess, or...
the people we have in common.
You had Caitlin and Tyler for a while there, didn't you? Was that you?
I don't think so.
No.
Or I blocked them out of my memory. I have a way of doing that.
the ones with lots of stuff was Kaylin and Farrah and stuff. And I don't know if you're like me too. Just before we wrap up, I feel sympathy for Farrah. She makes lots of choices that really just don't. Yeah. No, it's not good for her.
No, and as Gary was sort of pointing out, like people get mad that you have empathy for this person who's in pain. And, it's crazy. Social media is a weird place.
Oh, it's just a weird, disgusting. All right, well, that's another topic.
Podcasts are where it's at. Really,
we'll get to that. We'll do that again. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Venus Nicolino. You'll see her as Dr. V. You see her at Dr.V. Dr. Dr.V_tweet. Talk to drv.com is where you can find her. Get this new book when it comes out next year.
Yeah, awesome.
And maybe we'll have you back to talk about it.
Thank you so much.
And we'll specifically see how you modified this chapter we were talking about.
Got a lot of work to do.
All right, I'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
For Colin Times and Topics, follow the show on Twitter at Dr. Drew Podcast. That's DRDREW Podcast. The music from today's episode can be found on the Swingin' Sounds of the Dr. Drew Podcast, now available on iTunes. And while you're there, don't forget to rate the show. The Dr. Drew Podcast is a Corolla Digital production and is produced by Chris Loxamana and Gary Smith. For more information, go to drdrew.com.
If you have an appetite for fun, then the Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival is the place to be. March 2nd through April 12th, only at the Disneyland Resort. Enjoy deliciously fresh food, California wines, craft beers, specialty cocktails, live music, and more. All served up with a dash of Disney magic. Get more details at disneyland.com/foodandwine.
Trump and memo, White House resignation. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President Trump won't declassify a memo of the Russia investigation written by Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee because it contains especially sensitive classified material. White House counsel Don McGahn, in a letter to the committee, advised the Democrats to revise the memo with the help of the Justice Department. A second White House staffer has resigned. David Sorensen, one of the administration's speechwriters, has been accused by his ex-wife of violent and emotional abuse during their short-lived marriage. Sorensen says she was the abusive one. Earlier this week, Staff Secretary Rob Porter resigned after publications of allegations that he abused his two ex-wives. He, too, denies the allegations. A friend of Associate Attorney General Rachel Brand tells the Associated Press that Brand, the third-ranking person in the Justice Department, is stepping down for a private sector job. An official announcement expected next week. I'm Tim McGuire.